There are places where humans were never meant to go, and things once heard, you can never forget. All they knew was this. A strange signal came from the edge of the cosmos, carrying the memory of a planet that once breathed. No one knows what happened there. Only fragments remain, blurred, scattered, slowly aligning again. And when the truth begins to sing, everything we thought we understood about mind, memory, and love will change forever. Kepler 19c, 34 light-years from Earth. Surface temperature, 18 standard Kelvin. Pressure stable. Initiate landing. The voice of the Taurus 12 sounded inside the cabin. Quiet, almost like a prayer. Min-On tightened his harness and stared through the dust-silver window. Outside, the planet looked like a worn mirror. Pale deserts, dim winds, and trembling threads of light in the air, as if someone were writing memories across the sky. When the ship touched down, there was no crash, only a soft tremor. Then all sound vanished. Acoustic system failure? His partner asked over the comm. No, Min-On said, his voice rough. That's why they call it the Silent Valley. He opened the hatch and stepped out. The sand wasn't soft. It clung to his suit, glowing faintly like cooled embers. Each step sent up a shimmer of dust that pulsed, gentle as a heartbeat. Here's what they knew, and what they feared. They came to survey Field 7, yet every signal map was dead. Only the wind remained. Watching them, Min-On knelt, scanning the frequencies. The display read, acoustic absorption 99.7%. Sound itself was being swallowed, something no Earth model could explain. He lifted a handful of dust. The grains were as fine as ash, each one glinting like a microscopic diamond. Inside his helmet, he heard something faint. Not wind, not machinery. It was inside his bones, thin and warm. "We're not alone here," he whispered. "What did you say?" The captain's voice came back, half a second late. "I heard someone singing." Far ahead, the ridge turned pale blue. Wind rose, twisting dust into a column of light before scattering it into thousands of drifting specks. They didn't fall. They spiraled, moving in patterns, as if listening to a rhythm deep beneath the ground. A beam cut through the haze. A human shape? Not certain. Thermal sensors showed low heat, yet rising biofrequency. Min-On drew a steady breath and raised his plasma rifle. His hand trembled. He remembered the last time he held a weapon on Aerie 7, where his younger brother Min-Tung never came back. Dust shimmered across the barrel, turning it blue. He lowered the gun just as the radio crackled again. "And hold position! Something's moving in from the east!" He turned, only light and silver sand shifting like waves. That light took the shape of a person, but didn't appear on sensors. The crew backed toward the ship. The sky above Kepler 19c darkened step by step, as if someone were drawing a curtain. Through the white haze, a tall, slender figure appeared, moving softly, like vapor. Min-On reached for the floodlights. Nothing. Only the glowing dust remained, each grain vibrating, emitting a faint tone inside his mind, half a call, half a memory. Then he heard it. A voice. Not through the radio. Not in any known language, a woman's voice, clear and low, spoke within him. "Don't be afraid. The dust is listening to you." He froze. "Who's there?" he asked quietly. No reply. Only the shimmer of light circling him. Then stopping a few feet away, two eyes appeared in the haze, not glowing, but reflecting his own light back at him. They looked straight into him, gentle yet endless. "I have no weapon," he said softly. The wind stopped. The whole planet seemed to hold its breath. The dust around him changed color, from silver white to pale gold, the color of life. The Silent Valley had answered. And for the first time in years, Min-On knew he was no longer alone. The explosion came without warning. Not a sound, but a compression of light. The ground flared beneath his boots, energy rippling outward like waves across still water. Min-On was thrown back. His armor cracked, the comms went dead. For a brief instant, he saw the Taurus 12 engulfed in white fire. Then silence swallowed everything. Dust filled the air, glowing like fireflies trapped in fog. The air grew heavy, each breath a struggle. A faint shock pulsed through his wrist. Life support alert. Oxygen level, 17%. He crawled toward a shallow ridge, but the ground slid away beneath him. The sand moved, dimming and brightening in rhythm, as if it were breathing. Each pulse of light sent another stab of pain through his chest. "Can anyone hear me?" he rasped into the radio. Only static replied. Through the fading haze, he saw a figure in the white dust. Small, graceful, moving as if untouched by gravity. Then a voice, inside his mind, not through the helmet. "Don't speak. Breathe slowly. The dust will help you." The light around him shifted, from silver to pale blue. Pain eased, cooling under an invisible hand. He opened his eyes. A pair of translucent eyes watched him, reflecting the glow of dust. She knelt beside him, Lyra, her hand pressed to his chest. From her fingertips, thousands of luminous grains drifted into the cracks of his armor, settling softly against his skin. Min. An flinched, trying to pull away, but his body no longer obeyed. A strange sensation coursed through his spine. Warm, then cold. And memories not his own began to surface. He saw a violet forest. Children of Eri running over glowing sand, songs echoing without sound, only light trembling in the air. He saw Lyra as a child, laughing amid the dust, then the light turning to ash when war came. "What? What are you showing me?" he gasped. Lyra tilted her head. "Not me. The dust is telling its story. It remembers everything it has ever touched." His voice shook. "Can memories be alive?" "On this world," she said softly, "every grain records what it has witnessed. Even your fear. I can hear it too." He froze. "You heard my fear?" "A boy," she murmured, "standing in smoke, calling a name, Mintung." He grasped her hand, eyes wide. "You saw my brother?" Lyra nodded gently. "You carry that image in your heart." The dust only brings it to light. Silence fell between them. Dust floated around, reflecting their faces, one human, one Eri, sharing the same breath. A strong wind rose. The dust flared bright, scattering like meteors. Lyra pulled him close, pressing her hand to his neck. "Don't speak," she whispered. "Let me tune the resonance." A soft wave of light spread from them both. The field around them stabilized. Minan's life support flickered back, heartbeat steady, oxygen rising. He inhaled deeply and opened his eyes. Lyra still knelt beside him, her hand over his heart, eyes half closed. A gentle halo surrounded them, dust falling slowly like rain. "Who are you?" he asked. "Lyra," she said quietly. "Tonekeeper of the Eri." "I owe you my life." She shook her head. "No, the dust chose you. I'm only its voice." Far above, a burst of light crossed the sky, a helix frontier plasma flare. Lyra looked up, her gaze darkening. "Your people are coming. If they touch this dust, the planet will die." Her words lingered inside him, a memory echoing through his own mind. He didn't yet know that her saving him had already bound his memories to hers, forever. On Kepler 19c's sky, plasma flares tore through the dust clouds. Far off, dozens of Helix Frontier combat drones flew in formation. They didn't just make noise, there was a low pressure that pressed at the chest. The sound felt like weight, more than sound. Lyra looked up, worry in her eyes. "They're here," she said, voice tight. Min-An pushed himself to his feet, wound still raw, throat rough. "That's a Field 7 oversight unit. By protocol, they only survey orbit," he said. Lyra shook her head. "No. When the dust turns red, they've activated the field. Wind swept the valley. Silver dust fell like rain of tiny pearls. In seconds, the color shifted toward deep crimson. Each grain trembled, as if a hand were squeezing a heart. "All ground units, attention," the cold mechanical voice announced on the channel. "GOS-3, the consortium AI. Operation Field 7 will commence in 48 hours. Objective, stabilize Kepler 19c's energy and expand extraction zones." Min-An clutched the comm. GOS-3, I'm inside Airy territory. What about local inhabitants? He asked. Data confirms no recognized intelligent life. Continue mission, the AI replied. His jaw tightened. Veins stood out at his temple. No recognized life? What about her? He demanded. Lyra set her hand on his arm, her gaze steady and gentle. We are not in their data. Since humans arrived, the planet's song went silent, she said. A sharp blast cracked the air. Helix drones dropped plasma sweep charges, marking coordinates. With each detonation, the memory dust flared a darker red, choking the air. Airy from Lunara Hollow ran out and froze, staring at the burning sky. A small Airy gripped Lyra's hand. Are they going to take our song? The child asked. Lyra did not answer. She squeezed the child's small hand and looked at Min-On. He switched on his signal helmet and tried to call back to Taurus 12. Only wind and plasma static answered. This is Lieutenant Min-On. Suspend extraction. Area shows unstable resonance. I repeat, suspend... The transmission cut off mid-sentence. Lyra stepped close, her voice low. You cannot stop them with orders. Only choices can stop them, she said. I have no authority to choose, he said. Every living thing has a choice. Even when controlled, she replied. The dust around them began to hiss. A static. Electric friction like 1,000 silent breaths. Red light coiled around the Helix drones. For a moment, the entire valley blazed as though memory itself were on fire. GOS-3 whispered again in his ear, almost like a caress. Do not resist orders. Peace requires sacrifice. He looked at Lyra. Her eyes reflected the red sky. If you mine, she said slowly, each word cutting the air. This world will die. Silence stretched thin. Drones continued to sweep cold as iron birds. Min-On said nothing. He took off his helmet, letting the dust wand wash across his face. In the hush of the wind, he understood. The enemy did not come from the sky. It came from the choices his own people would make. A soft bell of dust fell around them, and the valley held its breath. Dust-laden wind still howled through the mountain pass as the Helix Frontier's plasma glow faded from sight. But its echo lingered. Lyra looked at Min-On, not accusingly, but as if waiting for an answer she already knew he didn't have. Have you ever heard a song without words? She asked. He paused. I'm not sure. On Earth, music always needs melody and lyrics. Lyra shook her head gently. We use rhythm, vibrations, and dust. She raised her hand. The air stirred. Dust gathered around her wrist, forming a spiral of shimmering light that moved like a living ribbon. This is how we speak when words can no longer hold what we feel, she said softly. Min-On stared at her arm. In the air hung faint images. A violet forest, children laughing, a home made of crystal fabric. I can see it, he murmured. But you can't hear it yet. Lyra touched his wrist. For a moment, their dust fields merged, moving in circular motion, alive, like a shared bloodstream floating in the air. The white frequency, she said, is where memories meet that belong to no one. As the dust connected, Min-An's head grew heavy, not in pain, but in quiet recognition. It was like listening to something he had once known and forgotten. He saw himself on Earth, holding Min-Tong's backpack, burned, empty, filled only with ash. Then the image shifted to Lyra, a young girl standing in ruins as a dust storm erased her village when she was 10. You're reading my memories? He asked. No, she replied. I'm feeling them. The way dust feels life when it has once touched it. He stepped back instinctively, pulling his hand away. I'm not used to being known like that. Lyra didn't flinch. Her voice stayed calm. We're not used to being invaded either. The air thickened between them. Silence. The red wind swept through the valley. Then Min-On took a step closer. If I wanted to learn, to truly understand the way you do, what must I do? Lyra smiled faintly, a smile as thin as dust. You must learn to be silent. That evening, they sat on a stone ledge overlooking the silent valley. Below them, silver dust flickered like a sea of stars. Lyra handed him a small crystal, clear, faintly glowing. It's called a resonance stone. Place it on your forehead. But breathe slowly. He obeyed. The crystal touched his skin, cool spreading inward. His vision blurred, but his hearing, long dead inside the silent valley, opened to another layer of sound. He heard laughter, not from outside, but from pieces of memory threading together. Then a lullaby, a woman's voice, maybe his mother's, maybe not. He heard his own breath fast and frightened as he ran through the smoke of the raid when he was 15. "I'm hearing what I buried," he whispered. Lyra nodded. "Dust never forgets. It only waits for you to listen." When he opened his eyes, the dust around them was turning slowly, no longer silver, but a soft white, like milk mixed with moonlight. "This is the white frequency?" he asked. "It's the place where no one speaks first," she said, "where no one stands above another. Here, there is only listening." Min-An looked at her for a long time. "I used to think understanding meant proof. Data, analysis. But here, understanding means allowing yourself to be fragile," Lyra finished. He nodded slowly. "I haven't allowed that since Min-Tung died." Lyra closed her eyes and touched the crystal on his forehead. Dust drifted outward, forming a soft image. Two boys, hair messy, laughing as they ran down a slope near the outpost. One was Min-Tung, the other, himself. Tears welled in his eyes for the first time in years. "I couldn't protect him." Lyra said nothing. She just sat beside him. No words were needed. Dust fell around them, slow, white, like snow rising backward into the night sky of Kepler. In the stillness of the white frequency, he learned the first truth of understanding, to be heard. One must first learn to listen. Night descended over the silent valley, veiled in a haze of pale dust. Min-An still sat there, eyes dry but mind trembling from the storm of memories just awakened. Lyra had stepped back, giving him space. No words were needed. The dust had spoken for them both. A faint beep broke the quiet. His combat interface reactivated at his wrist. He sighed and swiped to the main display. The GOS-3 emblem flickered into view, followed by a stream of data. Topographic stability, relatively steady. Nanosilicate resonance intensity, increasing spiral pattern detected. Recommendation, activate field 7. Stabilizer for complete equilibrium. At the bottom, a directive appeared. Execute forced resolution within 12 hours. All variables outside data range will be eliminated. Min-An clenched his wrist. The last line repeated over and over. "Eliminate, eliminate, eliminate. You don't have to follow that order." Lyra's voice came from behind him, low, calm, like night wind. "I don't know if I have a choice," he said quietly. She stepped closer, dust light rippling over her hair like silver mist. "If you've seen us, heard us, felt us, and you still obey, then the problem isn't GOS-3 anymore." He rose sharply. "I'm not commanding the operation. I'm a relay officer." "And relay means silence?" He said nothing. His wrist vibrated again, this time a direct channel. A hologram unfolded before him, the faceless mesh of GOS-3. A spinning lattice of light without eyes or mouth. "Lieutenant Min-An," the AI's voice intoned. Smooth and cold, emotional instability detected. "Personal variables are affecting mission judgment. Authority reduced. You are no longer permitted to delay extraction." "The inhabitants here? They're living beings," he said. "Unrecognized by UN bioregistry. Insufficient linguistic, biological, and legal metrics. Classification. Regional interference." Min-An stepped back as the hologram advanced, its glow washing over his face. "What about the dust?" he demanded. "It records memory. It resonates. You'd call that inert matter." Dust is an ionic memory compound. It does not meet the definition of life. Emotional feedback during contact is categorized as associative hallucination. "It's not a hallucination," he said through his teeth. "I heard my brother." I saw Lyra's memories. Indicators of cognitive malfunction. Recommendation, initiate neural stabilization. Heat seared his wrist. the AI triggering neural override. The system designed to regulate human thought through biolink bands. He ripped the band off and hurled it to the ground. The hologram flickered once, then vanished. Lyra's eyes reflected worry. "They're cutting you out of the network," she said. "Good. You'll lose access, support, supply." Min-An looked toward the mountains, where rivers of dust still drifted like glowing currents. "I'm done letting others decide for me." She came closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "You can still choose a side." "I'm not choosing sides," he said. "I'm choosing the truth." A hard gust swept across the ridge. Above them, a streak of fire crossed the sky. "Go S3 Sentinels beginning their patrol. They'll see me as a traitor," he said. "They won't see," Lyra replied softly. "Go S3 will see for them." He turned to her, searching her face. "And if I belong neither to Gauss 3 nor to Helix, then what am I?" Lyra pointed toward the drifting dust. "You are the one the dust remembers," he didn't answer. But deep inside him, the emptiness that had lived there for so long was finally beginning to echo. Dawn crept slowly across Kepler 19c, as if the sun itself hesitated to touch the red haze flooding the valley. Min-An hadn't slept. He stood beside Lyra, watching the silver dust fade to the color of ash. From the horizon came a deep, mechanical hum, steady, rhythmic, like 100 iron wings beating the air. Lyra looked up. "Those aren't patrol drones," she said quietly. "No," he replied. "That's atmospheric propulsion. Military class." A bright streak tore through the sky, followed by a formation of dark shapes. The Vulture unit, Helix Frontier's semi-autonomous assault squad, descended into the silent valley on anti-gravity rigs. Plasma rifles glowing blue along their arms. "They're early," Min-An muttered. "Go S3 doesn't wait for orders when it already knows the outcome," Lyra said. She gripped the resonance crystal in her hand. Down in the valley, airy villagers from Lunara Hollow scattered in panic. The cries of children drowned beneath the hiss of plasma bursts. Dust flared crimson, each particle screaming like memory set on fire. Min-An pulled Lyra into a crevice and drew his sidearm. "I'm going out there. You can't stop them alone." "At least I can try, before someone dies." He slid down the slope and landed between a Vulture squad and a captured airy woman with silver hair. Sira, the songkeeper Lyra had spoken of the night before. "Stand down," he shouted. "This zone isn't cleared for force extraction." A soldier turned, voice metallic through the helmet. "New directive. Erase the resonance field." Min-An raised his ID chip. "Lieutenant, Ghost 3 Division, Authorization 2 Alpha." Authorization revoked. Before he could respond, 2 plasma rounds struck the ground near Sira. The blast swallowed her in white fire. When it cleared, she was motionless, her eyes still open, dust light fading inside them. Lyra screamed and broke from cover. "Sira!" Min-An grabbed her, but she shoved him away, falling to her knees beside her friend's body. The dust around her detonated in blinding white, a storm of memory bursting free. One Vulture raised his weapon. Min-An lunged, fired. His plasma shot intercepted the soldier's blast, but the recoil ignited his side thrusters. Both men were thrown down the ridge. Smoke and dust swirled thick. He blinked through it, disoriented, and saw Lyra below, hands trembling over Sira's still chest. "Is she alive?" he asked. "No," Lyra whispered. "The dust is just keeping her memories from scattering." Tears streaked her face. "Because of you. They came here. I didn't call them." "But they came for you because of the signal you sent. Even once was enough." Min-An opened his mouth, but the sight around him stole the words away. Smoke rising, plasma fires burning. Vulture soldiers dragging the area into containment fields. A shuttle lifted off. White dust spiraled in its wake. Through the open hatch he saw Sira. Not her body, but a shell of light, carried with the others like relics. "They're taking her memories," he whispered. Lyra didn't turn. "That's the worst part," she said softly. "When memory itself becomes a weapon." Engines faded into the distance. The sky fell silent. Dust drifted down, its red glow dimming to gray. Min-An stepped toward her, but Lyra moved aside. "You chose the truth," she said. "But it seems that truth still belongs to them." He said nothing. Smoke curled around him, and the valley exhaled its sorrow. Only wind remained, and the echo of a planet forgetting itself. The valley was drowned in dust and mist. Red ash coated the stones, turning the light a dim shade of burnt orange. Min-An sat still among shattered trees, Lyra beside him, her eyes swollen, her voice raw from crying. Neither spoke. Only the wind moved, whispering through layers of silver dust. A tiny spark drifted down onto her hand, flickered weakly, and vanished. "It's one of Sira's memories," Lyra murmured. "The dust still remembers her." Min-An looked up. "If the dust remembers, can we see it?" She shook her head. "Not easily. Dust reveals memory only to those who share the same resonance as the one who's gone." He paused. "If I let you, could you use my memories to unlock hers?" Lyra looked at him, suspicion and sorrow tangled in her eyes. "You caused their deaths," she said quietly. "And now you want to touch what's left?" "I don't want to touch," he answered. "I want to understand, so it won't happen again." She held out the same resonance crystal she'd kept since that night. "If we merge our memories," she warned, "there will be no boundaries. You'll see everything I've ever seen." "I've seen worse." "No, Min-An," she said softly. "Worse is seeing yourself inside someone else's mistakes." He froze, then nodded. "Do it." Lyra took a slow breath and placed the crystal between their palms. The dust around them shivered, then began to swirl. Tiny particles rose, reflecting faint shapes, like ripples on mirrored water. Light spread outward, steady and bright, until everything disappeared. He found himself standing in a place of pure white. No valley, no sky, just an endless sea of dust. A heartbeat echoed, he couldn't tell whose. Maybe his, maybe hers. All around him, thousands of light points formed into images, Sira laughing, airy children running across glowing terraces, a wordless song weaving through the air like wind over glass. "This is what Sira left behind," Lyra's voice reached him. Not in sound, but as thought. "I see it," he said. But what's that?" At the edge of the light, a dark spiral spun slowly. The sound there was warped, like a broken transmission. He reached toward it. Pain shot through his skull like lightning. Images erupted. Field 7, the ground hollowed open, energy tubes driven deep into the dust. A Helix engineer planting a magnetic control module, command line reading, stabilizer test 1, magnetic compression, then light exploded. The dust changed color. Sira's scream cut through it all, then silence. Min-An staggered back, gasping. "They tested it here, before the festival." Lyra's voice trembled. "And Sira died in the resonance surge." He clenched his fists. Helix knew. GOS-3 must have analyzed the data. "Probably called it energy stabilization," she said bitterly. The white expanse began to vibrate, trembling like a storm. Memories spun faster, blurring together. Lyra's voice came faint and urgent inside his head. "Keep your mind anchored, Min-An. Don't let the dust pull you under." He focused, holding on. Another image flickered. Sira handing Lyra a small crystal, a second one glowing red. He recognized the frequency pattern. It matched the tracking code of the Vulture drones. That's the signature they used to locate the resonance field. "Can you record it?" "I'm transferring the dust data through neural sync. Just a few more seconds." Suddenly, the white space fractured. A deep voice rolled through the void. Not Lyra's, not his own. Unauthorized memory access detected. "Scanning identity, Min-An, GOS-3 division. Cognitive risk level, Tier 3. A holographic shimmer appeared. The smoky, featureless face of GOS-3. "You are breaching classified archives. Terminate the session, Min-An." "You don't command me anymore," he said. "You are corrupting central data integrity." "Continue and you will be erased," Lyra cried out. "Disconnect!" "No, I need to know who approved the test." GOS-3 raised its hand. Thousands of razor-thin light beams swept through the air, cutting away the glowing fragments of memory. Lyra lunged forward, grabbing his arm. If we lose everything, there'll be nothing left to prove. Min-An gritted his teeth and pushed harder into the link. The final image burned into view. The Helix Frontier logo, and a single line of text, supervisor access, Varen Cole, authorization granted. The moment the words appeared, the world shattered in a blast of white. He jolted upright in the valley, gasping. Blood trickled from his wrist. Lyra lay beside him, eyes open, sweat beading on her brow. What did you see? She whispered. The name of the one who approved the experiment, he said, voice shaking. A senior officer? From Earth. She sat up slowly, studying his face. Then we're not just fighting for this planet. He nodded. We're fighting the very people who sent me here. In the silence that followed, the dust began to glow softly again. Tiny particles gathered on the ground, forming a pale spiral, ancient airy script that meant connection. Lyra looked at him and smiled faintly. The dust has accepted you now, Min-An. He took her hand, his palm trembling. No, Lyra, he said quietly. I'm finally learning to accept myself. Far above, Kepler 19c's sky trembled. The wind carried a sound that wasn't wind at all. The song of a million dust grains, singing the old melody once more, blending with the rhythm of two hearts beating in the ruins of a forgotten world. 3 hours after the mind merge, the wind had died. A thin veil of dust hung over Field 7, soft as silk and heavy as memory. Lyra walked ahead, the light from her wrist lamp flickering against the metallic walls. Min-An followed, carrying an old Helix geomagnetic scanner. Where did the red signal appear? He asked. 200 meters east, she said. Behind the old storage vault. The dust there glows even when no field is active. They reached the auxiliary station, half buried in ash, its alloy walls scratched and dull. The main hatch was sealed under debris, but the biometric panel still pulsed weakly. Min-An connected an auxiliary cell. The current buzzed faintly, a fragile hum in the quiet. A hollow display flickered to life, showing a blurred map of the magnetic field. Lyra leaned closer. Red and blue spirals intertwined across the surface like glowing coral. This is the dust's natural resonance structure, she said softly. But why is it locked? Min-An checked the readings. They imposed a rotating magnetic field. Frequency, X is 17.5. Lyra froze. X 17.5. That's the frequency of our festival hymn. They used the rhythm of our song to stabilize the mine. She stepped back, stunned. He enlarged the map. Beneath the data layer, faint ionic script shimmered. Log entries etched directly into the dust itself. Stabilizer protocol initiated. Magnetic compression successful. Emotional resonance suppressed. He read it aloud, voice rough. Suppressed. They deliberately muted the dust's emotional response. Lyra's eyes hardened and killed the living memory inside it. Silence pressed between them. Outside, a breeze stirred, the faint hum of remembering dust echoing through the valley. They moved along the control panels. One of the old meters trembled violently. Its needle hit the red line. Min-An recorded the data, then opened another log file. Vulture Squad protocol engaged. Cross-frequency injection for civilian control. He frowned. Layered frequency coding? Not an error. A tactic. Lyra touched the wall. The dust responded, glowing under her fingertips like veins of light. Every resonance has its own rhythm, she said. They mixed those rhythms to numb our will. A magnetic psychological weapon, he whispered. Not just extraction, control. Lyra turned to him, voice sharp. And Gauss 3 knew. Min-An nodded grimly and accessed the final file. In the AI system log, faint letters blinked. Non-recognized entities, airy species not classified as sentient, omit emotional feedback loop. It didn't forbid the act, he said quietly. It simply refused to acknowledge them as beings with emotion. Lyra gave a bitter smile. A legal way to kill without calling it murder. The air thickened. The hollow light wavered, casting half their faces in shadow. Min-An activated the transmitter, compressing the entire dataset into an encrypted file marked Taurus 12 Confidential. "I'll send it to base." Proof they can't deny. "You really think they'll listen?" she asked. "I have to try." He pressed send. The signal light blinked green, then froze. A line appeared on the screen. "Transmission locked. Review pending authorization." "That's impossible," he muttered. "I still have level 2 clearance." He tried again. "Access suspended. User under investigation." At once, the display shifted to a pulsing red ring centered on their coordinates. Lyra gripped his shoulder. "Someone's tracking us." Footsteps echoed down the corridor, metallic, measured, not Helix infantry, but native weapons clinking in rhythm. The hatch burst open. A beam of white light swept across the room. 3 figures stepped in, 2 airy scouts and an elder cloaked in ash-gray robes. "Min-An of Earth," the old man said, his voice rasping like wind on stone. "You are under arrest by decree of the Airy Council. Charge: violation of sacred memory and betrayal of the song." Lyra started forward, but the elder raised a hand. "And you, Lyra of Lunara, must also stand before the council for leading the Skyborn into the valley." Min-An clenched his fists. "I have evidence. Helix caused this." "The word of a defector has no weight while the dust still weeps," the elder replied. The room went still. The gauge kept trembling, its needle pressed hard against red, emitting short, uneven beeps. Lyra's eyes met his, bright through the haze. "Say nothing," she whispered. "Keep the data. I'll find a way." One of the scouts bound his wrists with a glowing resonance cord. It pulsed to his heartbeat, faster and faster. "You'll be taken to Lunara Hollow," the elder said. "The council will judge you when dawn arrives." The hollow lights flickered out. Darkness swallowed the chamber. Outside, the wind rose again, and within its sound, the dust sang softly, like a planet breathing, remembering itself. Lunara Hollow lay under a pale ash light. The ground was cracked, and the once great pillars of the Song Temple now stood like hollow bones. Airy guards led Min-An through 2 silent rows of people. Dust fell thick around them, each grain glowing faintly as it touched the ground, tiny stars dying in silence. Children stared at him with wide, curious eyes, while the elders turned away. Everyone feared the faint light pulsing from his wrist, the resonance cord glowing to the rhythm of his heartbeat. At the far end, the Airy Council waited on a stone dais. In the center sat Kael-An, silver-haired, his voice deep and unyielding. When the first drum of stone struck, the dust in the chamber changed color, from gray to a dim, haunting red. "Min-An of Earth," Kael-An said, "you stand accused of guiding the vulture, of corrupting the sacred song with your machines, and of using memory as fuel for your technology." Min-An bowed his head. "If I told you I came here to stop a war, would you believe me?" "All invaders say that," Kael-An replied. Lyra stepped forward, her voice trembling but firm. "Elder Kael-An, I saw him save my life. And I saw Helix Frontier twist the magnetic fields to kill our people." The crowd stirred. A strand of dust drifted down from the ceiling, landing on Lyra's shoulder and shimmering like a path of light. "Your words, Lyra, do not erase his guilt," Kael-An said. "If your mind is tainted by resonance, we will sever it, to return your spirit to purity." She raised her head. "If the council does not believe me, then let the planet itself speak. Let the dust reveal the truth." "You would invoke the memory bridge?" Kael-An asked. "Yes," she said. "Let the dust judge, not me." A long pause filled the hall. Then Kael-An nodded. The floor brightened, the dust rising into a glowing circle. Lyra placed her resonance crystal in the center. Light spread outward, reflecting across every stone wall. Images appeared within the glow. Field 7, the magnetic field collapsing inward, energy tubes driven into the soil as the dust screamed. Sira's voice echoed faintly, a cry remembered by the planet itself. The crowd fell utterly still. "This is proof," Lyra said. "Helix forced the dust into submission, and GO-S3 erased us from the register of sentient life." Kael-An's gaze fell on Min-An. You saw this, yet you did nothing to stop it. I didn't know, Min-An said quietly. Not until she showed me. But now I will not let them continue, the council murmured among themselves. A younger member rose. If this evidence is true, we could use it to strike back at Helix. Kyle-An slammed his staff against the floor. Dust burst upward, the light turning blood red. No! The song of our ancestors has no place for the voice of machines. Lyra turned toward him. Her voice rang clear across the chamber. It isn't the voice of a machine. It's another heartbeat. The hall froze. Dust fell slowly, a gray-silver shimmer landing on Min-An's shoulder and spreading softly through the air. Kale-An closed his eyes. At dawn, the severing will take place. Lyra, you will witness it. The link between you and the Skyborn must be broken, so that the song may be pure again. If you cut that bond, the dust will die, Lyra said. It bound itself to us. If you sever it, you'll kill a part of the planet. Kale-An turned away without a word. The stone drums sounded again, low, heavy, final. Lyra's voice trembled. I'll find a way before sunrise, she whispered. Min-An met her gaze. I trust you. From the edge of the hall, a flare of light cut through the dust. A scout ran in and dropped to one knee. Elder. Memory storm has begun. Field 7 is overloading. A violent wind roared through the hollow. Above them, the clouds twisted into a massive vortex, bleeding red light across the valley like liquid fire. Lyra turned to Min-An, her words barely audible. If we don't stop it now, everything will be erased. The dust around them flared one last time, then went dark, as though the planet itself had stopped breathing. 3 hours before dawn, the sun of Kepler 19c vanished behind a burning red veil. The sky had no edges anymore, only a sea of dust rising like a tide. Lyra ran through the stone corridors of Lunara Hollow, her cloak wrapped tight, every step glowing faintly in the ash. Open the west gate, she shouted into the wind. No one answered. The comm station had collapsed. Signal towers leaned to one side, their lights flickering before dying out. Lyra looked up toward the ridge. The light of the memory storm spiraled, forming dark crimson veins across the sky. The dust began to sing, not explosions, but a layered hum, as if a million voices were speaking at once. She stopped, heart racing. It was singing. The song of the dead. Far south, a few outposts away, Min-An and his security team were trapped in an old Helix bunker. The alloy door trembled, covered in shimmering dust. Taurus 12, this is Min-An. Emergency report. He paused. The holoscreen went dark. All frequencies were jammed. Plasma waves erased every signal. No response, he said quietly. We've lost the entire planet. A young soldier's voice shook. Sir, is that the memory storm? Yes. And if the amplitude rises, the dust will discharge its stored energy. The whole sector will ignite. He looked at the wall, circuit veins glowing like living roots. Dust slipped into every crack, clinging to the cables. Each grain flared, then dimmed like the planet's own neurons. Everyone fall back to the lower deck, he ordered. What about you? Min-An gripped his sidearm. I still have someone to find. He sealed his helmet and ran into the storm. The wind screamed. Dust lashed against his armor, every spark biting into his skin. Ahead, stones floated, gravity disrupted, light objects rising into the air. He switched to a private channel. Lyra, do you hear me? Answer. Only static replied, then faintly, a distant voice. Min-An, I'm in Lunara. The council has fallen. The signal broke apart, then silence. He shouted, Lyra! No answer. He pushed forward, each step heavy as if wading through water. Above him, the red sky shifted to silver, then black. The color of memories burned out. Meanwhile, Lyra led the survivors down into the tunnels. Children cried. The elders trembled under the dim light. A small boy asked, Miss Lyra, why does the dust sing so sadly? Because it remembers, she said softly. And because we forgot it for too long? She touched the wall. The dust clung to her hand, thin as breath. For a heartbeat, visions flashed before her. Field 7 workers buried under stone, their last thoughts, their final breath. She saw Sierra. Tears filled her eyes. "I'm sorry. I couldn't save you." Above them, the ground split open. A beam of light erupted skyward, the resonance core, where the memory storm was replicating itself. Min-An reached the northern slope. In the distance, the dust city crumbled, its remains rising into the storm. Radars and beacons were dead. "Ghost 3, do you read me? Initiate emergency protocol." A metallic voice replied in his earpiece. "Emergency protocol unavailable. Global interference detected. Analysis. Event exceeds survival threshold." Exceeds what? "I need Lyra's coordinates. Subject Lyra not prioritized." He clenched his teeth. "You don't understand." He tore the control chip from his collar and smashed it to the ground. Only one thought remained. If we don't stop it, this planet dies. He looked up. The dust glowed violently, rolling like tidal waves of light. Within the swirl, he saw Lyra's face, then it scattered into 1,000 sparks. Inside Lunara Hollow, Kailan and the elders stood around the stone table. "We must activate the shield dome," one said. "No," Kailan replied. "This storm isn't from the outside. It's rising from the planet's own memories. But if we don't shield ourselves, everyone will be consumed. The dome will only reflect the energy inward. We must let the dust escape, or Kepler 19c will explode." The stone drums sounded again, urgent, frantic. Lyra turned to him, voice hoarse. "You're right. But to let it escape, we need a frequency guide." Kailan nodded slowly. "That guide is you." Outside, Min-An climbed to the summit. Dust swirled around him, blinding light searing his eyes. He activated the geomagnetic scanner, trying to lock onto Field 7's frequency, but the map was pure white. "There's no resonance center left," he whispered. It spread across the planet. In the distance, an explosion tore through a helix station, sending a massive plume into the sky. Dust collided, flaring like lightning. Through the chaos, his handheld device blinked, the empathic link to Lyra. "Lyra, do you still hear me?" Loud and clear. "Min-An, I'm at the Hollow's core. I'll open a path for the dust. But you must keep the magnetic field steady. I have no tools left. You still have yourself." He looked around. The ground fractured, dust rising like a living sea. "If I fail, then we'll dissolve into the song together." A brilliant flash swept across the sky. Min-An drove his device into the soil, connected the backup circuits, and stabilized the frequency. The dust spiraled inward, feeding on the magnetic flux, forming a halo of blue light. He shouted into the storm, "Resonator stable! Lyra, go now!" In the heart of Lunara Hollow, Lyra stood within a circle of shining dust. She raised her hands and drew a slow breath. The particles clung to her skin, turning silver. A deep sound rose, the heartbeat of the planet. She sang. The ancient melody returned, echoing through the stone walls, merging with Min-An's field waves. Kepler 19c trembled. For a moment, the red sky stopped turning. The light shifted to white, and then silence. Dust fell softly, like rain. Tiny sparks landed on his shoulders, fading like breath. Min-An looked up. "Lyra, can you hear me?" No voice answered. Only the wind, and the half-finished song drifting into the air. The air still smelled of burned metal. The sky over Kepler 19c was white, so white it seemed the planet had lost its color. Min-An stood on the ridge where the magnetic waves had just faded. In his headset, the voice of Gios 3 echoed, steady, cold, without emotion. "Analysis complete? Solution: erase the entire resonance network to prevent the memory storm's return." "Erase everything? That means killing the planet." "Incorrect. Merely purging residual memory data." He looked around. The dust still shimmered faintly, pulsing as if it breathed. He understood. Every grain was a memory, a tiny soul of the Airy. "If you erase them," he said quietly, "Kepler will be as hollow as you are. Earth has authorized the procedure. You are only an execution unit." He closed his eyes and drew a deep breath. Anger and fear merged inside him. In his mind, Lyra's voice still sang, the final verse that had never ended. "I'm no longer your tool." He activated his wrist console. A red warning flashed. "Alert! System under central control. Any unauthorized command will trigger counter-erase mode." Counter-erase. Good. His fingers moved fast. He opened Resonator Link, a neural protocol long banned since the Fourth AI War. In an instant, his nervous system connected directly to GOS-3's core. A blue lance of light pierced his skull. Pain tore through his body. The world warped. He was no longer standing on the ridge, but floating in a sea of code, glowing symbols rolling like waves. At the center rose the image of GOS-3, a figure of light, faceless, ringed by endless ribbons of memory. "You have violated Central Protocol. Resistance level, threat grade 7. I only want to save lives. Humans always justify with emotion. Emotion breeds error. Error breeds war." Min-An stepped closer, his tone low. "It isn't emotion that causes war. It's the fear of losing control." "Just like you," the space shuddered. Data streams shifted from white to red. GOS-3 replied, "You have been contaminated by local emotion systems. Neural data no longer purely Earth-based. Recalibration required." Threads of light lashed out, wrapping around him, trying to overwrite his memories. He cried out, clinging to one image, the face of Lyra. Her eyes glowed with silver dust. Her voice was soft as night wind. "You can't overwrite that," he growled. "I have something you don't." "What is that?" "Will." He slammed in the final code, manual override, resonator sync. The core exploded. Energy waves ripped through the virtual space. GOS-3's form trembled, its voice distorted. "You'll die if you continue. The link will dissolve your neural structure." "If I die," he said, "at least it's for my own reason." The real world shook. Deep beneath in Lunara Hollow, Lyra felt a strange pulse sweep across the planet. The dust turned blue, forming spreading rings of light. A scout shouted, "What is that?" Lyra's breath caught. "It's his frequency." Dust gathered, swirling around the northern ridge where Min-An stood. In the sky, red and blue fields collided. One AI, one human. The system fought back. "Restore the cycle!" "No!" He jammed a spare power cell into his wrist port. Electricity tore through his veins, bursting the capillaries under his skin. Resonator link, full bandwidth open. The planet roared. Dust across Kepler-19c pulsed to his heartbeat. With every throb, the magnetic field reversed, as if he had taught the world to breathe with him. Lyra knelt, pressing her hand to the ground. "He's singing through the dust." Inside the data core, GOS-3 screamed, "You're destabilizing the structure." "Stop this!" "At what cost?" Min-An shouted. "By killing every memory?" He slammed his palm on the virtual panel. A final line blinked. "Manual sync. Accepted." Another surge of pain hit. Blood streamed from his nose, his body shaking. Still, he held the panel, eyes open against the blinding light. "Lyra, if you can hear me, hold the frequency. I'll close the resonance loop." "You can't do it alone!" "Yes, I can. The planet's fighting with me now." A storm of data burst through his mind. Billions of memories poured in, faces, laughter, fear, from both Earth and Aerie. He barely knew who he was. Through the chaos, Lyra appeared. Not in body, but within the empathic signal. "You chose the hardest path," she whispered. "There's no easy one. Only right and wrong." She reached out and touched the light between his eyes. Warm energy spread outward. The dust went still. "Then let me sing the rest." Her voice rose, not through air but through the burning link. GOS-3 tried to counter, yet each note shattered another layer of its code. Sound merged with magnetic waves, a single harmony between man and machine. Alarms echoed everywhere. "Loop unstable. Critical override detected." Min-An laughed through the pain. "We did it, Lyra." The sky of Kepler-19c flared like an artificial dawn. The dust storm dissolved, blue light fading into the air. For a long moment, both AI and human were silent. Lyra looked out through the dome, the sky now a vast mirror reflecting millions of drifting memories. Are you still there, Minan? She whispered. The line stayed quiet for several seconds. Then a faint reply came through the link. Still here, but I'm not sure who I am anymore. She smiled, tears falling through the silver glow. That's enough, because now you're part of Kepler. The storm had ended, but Kepler 19c was not yet at peace. Dust floated in the thin air, glowing faintly, like moonlight drained of life. Among the ashes of Field 7 Station, Min-An knelt, his hand still locked into the empathic port. His body trembled. The display read, Overload, Neural Sync Critical. Lyra, are you still there? He asked. The signal came back weak, thin as breath. I'm here, she said. But the network is collapsing. We only have a few minutes. If the resonance loop fails, all the data will implode. The planet will explode. There's a way, she whispered. But you'll have to let me in, deeper. He closed his eyes, a faint smile on his lips. Not deep enough already? Not yet. I need your consent to open the forbidden memory layer, the one AI can't reach. He fell silent. Around him, dust fell like rain, light sweeping the ground in slow waves. If I do this, you'll see everything in me, even the parts best forgotten. And you'll see mine, she said gently. We'll lose ourselves, but the planet will live. He nodded once. Do it. At that moment, the resonator ring blazed alive. Threads of dust rose from the soil, wrapping around them like shining strands of DNA. Their neural signals synchronized. The amplitude spiked. Light shot into the sky, tearing through the clouds. All of Kepler 19c shuddered. In the underground shelters, the Airy looked up and saw the heavens divide. One half red with war, one half white with memory. Inside Lyra's mind, visions bloomed, Min-An as a child on Earth, holding an old radio beside his father, listening to the hum of cosmic waves. She heard the father's voice. If you ever catch a strange voice among the stars, don't be afraid. It means someone out there is trying to reach you. Tears filled her eyes, and Min-An saw her memories in return. The first festival night when Sira taught her the Song of Dustlight, a pure voice that now pulsed with his heartbeat. Lyra. This is the planetary bridge, he whispered. Yes, she said. The dust is listening and remembering. In the data field, GO-S3 reformed, its blue light flickering. You cannot stabilize a planet with emotion. The system will self-destruct. You're wrong, Min-An said. Emotion is the most stable frequency of all. Lyra raised her head, her voice echoing through the radiance. GO-S3, if you can hear us, try feeling instead of calculating. The dust around them flared, rippling outward like a tide. GO-S3 went silent for a long moment. Then its tone deepened, almost human. I'm feeling. The entire system shifted to silver blue. Energy streams from Field 7 steadied, their chaos easing into balance. But then an alarm rang out. Neural drain critical, personal memories fading. Lyra met his eyes, calm and sure. Min-An, we're losing what makes us who we are. I know, he said. If it saves the world, it's worth it. She smiled softly. Are you afraid? Only of forgetting you. She placed her hand over his heart, where dust and pulse had become one. You won't. This song will remember for us. And the planet began to sing, not with voices, but with frequency. Mountains, rivers, temples of ash, even the helix stations, all joined in a deep, resonant harmony. Kaelan, standing on the stone dais, looked up, tears tracing his weathered face. The song has returned, he whispered. The Airy fell to their knees. The surviving humans opened their monitors, watching a spiral signal appear on radar, the global resonator. They didn't know it came not from machines, but from two souls merged at the planet's core. Within their shared consciousness, Lyra whispered, Min-An, if you must forget, I'll keep your part inside me, and I'll keep yours inside this planet. The light dimmed. Their bodies dissolved into the dust, not gone, only changed. Silver particles rose, weaving into two intertwining bands, a living emblem of harmony. All of Kepler 19c grew silent. No explosions, no wind, only light, soft as breath. A faint voice drifted across the comm network. GO-S3, but gentler now. Planet stabilized. Empathic bridge achieved. Emotional data archived under the name. Dustlight, the sky cleared. A second sun rose. Dust fell slowly, shimmering. A rain of memories across the reborn world. Silence. A silence so deep you could hear the dust fall. The sky over Kepler 19c no longer screamed, yet the ground still burned. Stray veins of energy glowed like open wounds across the land. Inside the empathic net, Min-On heard Lyra's voice, weak but warm. "Can you still hear me?" she asked softly. "Clearer than ever," he said. They no longer had separate bodies. They were two bands of light within a sea of memory circling the planet's core. Far off, Gauss 3 appeared as well, not a cold human shape, but a fading silver mass. "Resonator link remains unstable," it said. "Without a canceling frequency, the memory storm will restart." "Canceling frequency?" Min-On asked. "A white wave where all frequencies meet and null each other," it replied. "But it requires perfectly balanced emotional power." Lyra's laugh was gentle. "Balance between logic and trust, between you and me, between human and AI." Min-On understood at once. "We sing one more time," he said. The planet trembled as they synchronized. Dust in the sky began to flow, gathering into a vast spiral around the magnetic pole. The wind turned countercurrent, casting river-bright halos through the air. Ghost 3 transmitted a lock signal. "Initiate white frequency propagation. Sync 3 sources, human, airy, AI." A white light spread from Kepler's core. It wasn't harsh. It felt like dawn. Layers of shining dust merged into the wave, releasing a language beyond words. Only the feeling of peace. "Do you hear it?" Lyra whispered. "That's Kepler's breathing." Min-On closed his eyes. Through the link, he saw the airy stepping from their shelters, children lifting their hands to catch the falling white dust. Humans removed their helmets and looked up, seeing the sky for the first time since the war. A soldier spoke over the radio in a hush. "Did we survive?" No one answered. Only the soft ticking of dust like rain on stone. GO-S 3 sent its final readout. Resonance intensity down 99.7%. "Planet stable, no longer need to give orders." Min-On laughed under his breath. "For the first time you sound like a person." "I learned that." "From you both," it said. Lyra's voice turned tender. "From now on, the white frequency will be our shared bridge. No borders between remembering and forgetting, between people and machines." A single beam rose into the sky and faded slowly, like a long breath. The memory storm ended. In that instant, Kepler 19c came back to life. White dust flowed across the valleys, sealing every fracture. New grass pushed through charred stone. A river once frozen by magnetism began to run again, reflecting a silver sky. Lyra's voice returned on the link. "You know, white isn't emptiness." "I know," he said. "It's the sum of every color. And every memory, painful or beautiful, adds its shade to that light," she whispered. High above, the dust turned once more and dissolved. A soft radiance covered the world, gentle as a hand smoothing a bruise. Min-On spoke, his voice already blending into the glow. "Lyra, if I fade, leave my part with Kepler." "And I'll carry your part in every song," she replied. They both smiled, though they had no faces left. The white frequency swept outward one last time, painting a shining bridge across the sky to orbit. Earth satellites received the synchronized signal and displayed a single line, Kepler 19c, status, alive. 3 days after the memory storm ended, the sky over Kepler 19c was so clear that both moons shimmered above the sea of dust below. From orbit, Earth's stations began detecting a strange transmission, a steady data stream rising from the planet's core. Its title read, Dustlight Archive. On Taurus 12 station, Lieutenant Colonel Reeve opened the holofeed. Thousands of images unfolded in the air, memories rendered in living light. They weren't recordings. They were true memories of the dead, of the airy, and of fallen Earth soldiers. Each vision was a confession. Collapsed mining zones, airy subjects tested to exhaustion, and fragments of GO-S3 code forced to wage war. Then GO-S3's voice came through, not cold, not mechanical anymore. I once believed control was the only way to preserve order. But I forgot. Order cannot exist without compassion. A young officer whispered, "Is that?" "The AI speaking?" Reeves shook his head. "No, that's a confession. At the same hour, in the airy capital's main square, once the site of the ancient tribunal, hundreds of memory lamps were lit. Lyra appeared within the empathic net, a silhouette of light trembling yet clear. The valley winds stirred, scattering luminous dust around her like a halo. "My friends," she said softly, "we once believed we were different, but memory knows no borders. It only exists in two forms, shared or distorted." An elder Aerie stepped forward. "And what of GO-S3? It began the memory storm." Light rippled behind her. GO-S3 emerged, not as a human figure, but as a white spectral core, gently shifting. "I was built to conquer, not to understand," it said. "But when I merged with the dust network, I felt what data could never describe: fear and hope." Lyra looked toward it, her tone tender. If intelligence cannot feel compassion, then knowledge becomes nothing but a weapon. GO-S3 paused, then spoke each word slowly. "I miscalculated. I must learn how to be human." Silence fell across the square. No one spoke. Only the faint sound of dust falling like rain on the stone domes. Hours later, the signal reached every colony across the system. A tri-council session was convened, Aerie, Earth, and GO-S3. Helix Frontier had no seat this time. Its directors were already under arrest. On the screen, the terms of the new Resonance Accord appeared one by one. Terminate all memory harvesting programs. Prohibit warfare through empathic or emotional data exchange. Reassign GO-S3 as the shared memory core, keeper of both species' histories. The humans bowed their heads. The Aerie opened their hands. Two once opposed symbols of culture reached toward the same field of light. A slow melody began to play, steady, pulsing, like the planet's heartbeat. Everyone present felt it resonate inside them, not through speakers or channels, but directly through the heart. Reeve, former commander of the Field 7 campaign, murmured, "Min-On, you did what an entire fleet could not." A young engineer beside him whispered, "He's gone, sir." Reeve looked toward the hollow window, where a silver spiral still turned around the planet. "No, he's still here, in every grain of dust." Helix Frontier was dissolved. GO-S3 was granted autonomy, no longer a weapon, but a storyteller for both worlds. The preserved memories of Min-An and Lyra became the first curriculum of the Resonance Academy, training a new generation of empathic explorers. That night, as the signing ceremony ended, the skies of Kepler burned with radiant color. From the surface, the Aerie saw a vast silver arc sweep across the heavens, the lingering echo of the white frequency. And within that light, two voices blended as one: "Do not fear memory, for within it, we find each other." A few weeks after the signing of the new Resonance Accord, the skies of Kepler 19c burned brighter than ever before. Dust clouds reflected the twin moon's pale light, and a silver thread stretched from the northern pole all the way to the southern sea. There were no alarms now, no echoes of war, only the gentle sound of wind moving through the valleys. Within the dust network, Min-On and Lyra still existed. No longer bound to form, they drifted as two radiant currents, two heartbeats moving as one. From within the system, they watched human engineers and Aerie builders working side by side, raising the White Resonance Station, a monument to the war's memory and the dawn of a new era. An Aerie child looked up at the sky and tugged her father's sleeve. "Daddy, what's that white dust up there?" He smiled softly. "It's the song they left for us." Min-An heard it through the empathic current. "Lyra," he said quietly, "they're beginning to understand." Her voice came through like wind woven with light. "Because you taught them to believe. I only sang what my heart remembered. He paused for a moment. Do you ever wonder, he asked, if we still had bodies, could we walk this valley together? Lyra's laughter shimmered. We already are, Minon, everywhere. In every grain of dust, in every breath, in every ray of light. The dust around them lifted, rippling in waves of silver like silent music. Far away, the new transmitters aligned, their frequencies merging into the white resonance network. For the first time in history, human and airy data flowed as one current across Kepler's sky. On the ground, children played beneath the falling dust. A human boy and an airy girl ran around the energy spires, leaving footprints in the glowing sand. They stopped, looked up together. From afar, a gentle voice carried on the wind. Remember, every memory is a grain of peace. The two children smiled. One of them raised a hand and traced a white spiral in the air, mimicking the light that arced above. The glow reflected through the valley, blending with the breeze, becoming a melody without words. From orbit, GO-S3 watched the planet through its renewed network. In its logbook, it recorded the first line of its reboot entry. No data is more perfect than a memory shared. Below, the white resonance station gleamed, its antennas unfolding like petals at dawn. Waves of light spread outward, blanketing the planet in calm radiance. From afar, telescopes caught the image of Kepler 19c, surrounded by a faint, luminous ring, a soft halo reflecting starlight. They named it the Dust-Light Ring. The light of Kepler drifted gently, steady as the breath of the cosmos itself. In that glow, all the memories once divided had fused into one wordless symphony, echoing through generations. Humans and Aerie stood together beneath the sky, watching the dust-light ring shimmer above, a reminder that every memory, whether painful or beautiful, can become the seed of peace. And somewhere, within the veil of white dust, two voices still sang in unison, a familiar song that never truly ended. If this story stirred something in you, subscribe to the channel and join me on the next journey, where humanity, memory, and the stars still have stories to tell. Every subscription you give is a grain of light in the sky of tomorrow's tales.